Mic'd up.
Welcome, everybody, to a strange Yankees Coast to Coast. I decided to do one after the Angel series, but I wanted to make sure I had everything I needed to get it done. I am flying solo with this one today, so hello, Adam. Hopefully, get one post-game show today against the Royals. So let's start with this. This was a lucky sweep for the Yankees against the Angels. There is absolutely positively no way the Yankees should have won any of these games, much less two of them. Thank you, Jordan Romano. So when you start to get behind the numbers about this split, you'll see why the Yankees shouldn't have won any of these games. All right. Two games the Angels clearly won easily. And the bullpen was awful in every game except for the Wednesday night 5-4 one-run game. In Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the bullpen had 13 innings, allowed 22 hits and 10 walks. That's 32 base runners in 13 innings. They had 10 strikeouts, allowed 14 runs, 5 of which were homers, and they allowed 5 of 9 inherited runners to score. You can't have a bullpen that continues to do this, and the Yankees have this massive wart known as their bullpen right now, and they need to find something out about what they can do. Adam and I have been putting off really discussing significant changes in the bullpen with the hope that Cashman can pull one of his miracles off, although he didn't do so in 2025. In the win on Wednesday, the bullpen did pitch 4 innings, allowing 2 hits, no runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. So what does that tell you? When they don't walk guys, they're actually pretty effective. And they're not a strikeout an inning bullpen. In 17 innings, they only struck out 12 guys. And they walked 10. One of the problems is that Boone keeps deciding he wants to use Cruz as a in-inning reliever with men on base. That's a little bit of a challenge for Cruz because you never know when players or batters are going to stop swinging at pitches. If they don't swing, they walk. He does not throw the ball in the strike zone, but his ball has such nasty movement that he can fool guys. He pitched on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. He pitched a total of 2 innings, allowed 3 hits. Only 1 run was his own, but he did also walk 3 guys. That's 6 base runners, not counting errors and misplays, in 2 innings. And he only struck out 2 guys, which is 1 an inning. He also allowed 3 of the 4 inherited base runners that he got when he came into the games to actually score. That is not what you want from a middle of the inning coming in pitcher. And that's going to be a struggle for them. You need a guy who's going to put guys away and strike them out and not walk a tightrope with regard to balls and strikes, which of course leaves Duvall out as well. The Yankees were hoping that Bird was that guy, but he's been so bad that he's back down on the minors. De Los Santos is not the answer, and Chivili is certainly not the answer at all. Duvall is not the answer because he's been bad, and he also is a, if you don't swing, he's going to walk you guy. And he only pitched on Monday, and he pitched an inning in the third, allowed 2 runs, 2 hits with a K, and a home run allowed. So the bullpen is a problem. They need a shutdown, strikeout, hard-throwing guy who can go multiple innings. That sounds like a guy that they should bring up from the minors that is a starter and a high strikeout guy. But that's a problem for the Yankees because if they want guys like Elmer and guys like Lagrange and guys like Beck to be starters long-term, they need to stay in the minors as starters for a significant period of time. And then maybe when we get to July or August, after the trade deadline, and they want to start managing their innings, 1 or 2 of them, depending on what the Yankees change in their bullpen with Cashman's trades, 1 or 2 of them could come in and take a Phil Hughes type role in the bullpen, getting ready to be a starter in 2027 if it's needed. Otherwise, the Yankees need to do something right away and figure out who the hell is going to come up and strike guys out and get them out of innings when guys are left on base. Fried battled his ass off yesterday and didn't have his best stuff, but came out of the game with a couple of guys on base, which the bullpen proceeded to allow score, which made Fried's line look really bad. These starters who have been pitching their tails off need to be able to try and rely on these bullpen guys to come in and shut the door, especially if they come in mid-inning, or to shut the door until they can get to Bednar, who also has been inconsistent as their closer. So the bullpen has been a real issue for the Yankees. The other thing about this series against the Angels is Mike Trout. It was Mike Trout from 10 years ago. 6 for 16, 8 runs, 9 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and 5 home runs. And then the newest Yankee killer, something the Yankees have been waiting for on their own for several years and never got, was Oswald Peraza. Now, Mr. Peraza didn't start on the game on Monday, but came in for defensive purposes. In this series, where he played Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday against both lefty and righty starters, he went 5 for 10 with 3 runs, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, a strikeout, 2 home runs, and 2 stolen bases. This is the guy the Yankees thought they were going to have. Paul O'Neill went off the entire series about how much he loved Peraza as a Yankee and thought he had great potential. He's showing it with the Angels because he's getting a chance to play almost, if not every single day. The Yankees never gave him that chance, and there's an argument to be had and to be made that Peraza should have beaten out Volpe for that starting shortstop job when Volpe did go on to win Rookie of the Year, or that Peraza should have been getting more regular playing time against left-handed pitching, if not full-time, at third base or at second base for the seasons that he was with the Yankees instead of going up and down, left and right. Of course, him and Pereira both got screwed out of it, and Peraza is looking like he might actually be a player, while Pereira is having a pretty decent season as well, but doesn't play every day. Overall, the staff pitched 36 innings in 4 games. What a surprise. 40 hits, 18 walks, 58 base runners, not counting errors and misplays, in 36 innings. That's unacceptable. Now, of course, like I said, 32 of those hits and walks were the relief pitchers. So what do you get from that? The pitching staff allowed 32 runs, 28 of which were earned. They struck out 34, less than 1 an inning, and allowed 13 home runs, a record for a regular season 4-game series. It was disgusting pitching-wise for the Yankees against the Angels, and they were lucky to get the split. Now, what does their offense look like? Well, they scored 11 runs, 1 run, 5 runs, and 4 runs. 21 runs in 4 games, 5.2 runs a game. That's excellent. However, when you look at the breakdown, 11 in the first game, and when they scored 11 in the first game, they also left 11 guys on base. So that game, they should have never let the Angels back in it so that the Yankees would have had a comeback. That's where the bullpen blew it for them. Then they scored 1 run. Then they scored 5 runs and got lucky to do that and getting the win when that pop-up dropped between Peraza and Neto, which is Neto's ball, and he admitted to that. And then they scored 4 runs in the loss yesterday, which was a blowout against them. So even though they averaged over 5 runs per game, their offense was not good. Not nearly as bad as their bullpen, but it was not good. Other interesting notes from the series against the Angels: the Yankees pinch hit for Grisham in the 7th inning against a lefty pitcher. They brought in Goldschmidt, who lined out second base on a really nice play. However, what you need to know is that they were complaining about Grisham against lefty pitchers being bad. Well, if you're hitting 176 against lefty pitchers and your overall batting average is 164, you're actually worse against right-handed pitching. So what that tells you is Grisham is not hitting at all. He's been better against lefties, but that doesn't mean that he's been good. If you're the shining star at the top of a pile of poop, you're still on a pile of poop. And that's really what's been going on with Grisham, even though he did hit 2 home runs in the 1 game he didn't start in this series. And the other thing is also in the game that they won, where Caballero got the game-winning hit in the bottom of the 9th, Rosario was going to hit for McMahon against a right-handed pitcher. McMahon is a left-handed hitter, part of the platoon. So that's interesting, especially since it was against Romano, who was a breaking ball pitcher, and then we're going to send Rosario up there where the breaking ball would be breaking into the lefty McMahon. It was breaking away from the right-handed Rosario. So those are really interesting choices that Boone was going to make to try and jumpstart the offense and figure out what was going on. So it shows that at least they're thinking about these things, and that's a good thing. Even if they don't work, Martha Stewart says that's a good thing. A couple of other things that came up. Jazz is now 1 for 6 on challenges on the season, and Thursday he challenged the pitch with the entire baseball. The entire baseball was in the strike zone. That was just a bad choice by Jazz and a sign that maybe he doesn't know the strike zone. And maybe that's why he's not hitting. In the bottom of the third inning of the game on Thursday, leadoff hitter for the inning challenged the first pitch of the inning. That's the worst idea I've ever heard. Come on, Grisham, you got to be better than that. There's no reason to challenge that. That's on the coaches more than the player. Although the player, like Grisham, should know better. The players should be taught when to challenge and when not to challenge. And the Yankees hitters are having a very difficult time figuring this out. And that is on the coaches. A lot of people are saying the players are getting used to it. The teams are getting used to it. The analytics aren't there. Well, guess what? They're wrong. They've had this ABS challenge system around for 2 or 3 years in the minors. And every organization worth of salt should have been looking at what was going on in the minor leagues to see how it should be used in the major leagues. Sort of like predictability, like you would do for a player. How does this thing work and what is the best strategy for using it, and trying out strategies at the minor league level, because in reality, it doesn't matter if you win or lose at the minor league level. It's supposed to be for development. That's what happened in the Angels series. Lots to talk about, like I said, with regard to the bullpen, with regard to the challenges, with regard to a lot of things. But the other thing that's been coming up a lot with everybody is the hitting issues, especially against left-handed pitching. All right. So the Yankees are not just not hitting left-handed pitching. They're really not hitting anybody. They're hitting right-handed pitching better. But again, if you're on top of a pile of poop, you're still on a pile of poop. So, and when I say a pile of poop, this is what I mean. This is the Yankees offense right now. Inconsistency and stupidity are not a way to go through life. So they have an overall batting average of 214, which is 28th in the league. League average is at 238. Last year, they batted 251 as a team, where the league average was 244. So the entire league is down, but the Yankees are down significantly more than the rest of the league. Their on-base percentage last year was 314, which is not that good. It was 20th in the league, which is a problem, which is why they don't get enough guys on base. They don't have good at-bats. They don't have guys on base for Judge or anybody else that's in the lineup to knock in runs. And another reason why Judge should bat third, which he did in one game against the Angels. But they're 20th in on-base percentage in 2026. The league average is 321, so they're significantly worse. Last year, they were at 332, where the league average was 315. So the Yankees are playing at last year's league average, but they're not there. So they're not having anybody on base. They're not getting base runners on base. This whole thing about OPS, which is 3 true outcomes, is what the Yankees are living for, and it doesn't work. Overall, their slugging is 381, which is also 20th in the league. So even with the 3 true outcomes and working on OPS, the Yankees are not good. The league average is 383, so the Yankees are about league average on slugging percentage. Last year, their slugging percentage was 445, and their average of the league was 404. So the entire league is in the tank. Yankees are in the tank with them, but they're not at the top of the tank. And OPS, obviously, when you're at 314, 381 in on-base and slugging, your OPS is 695, which is 17th in the league. League average is 704. Yankees are near that. But last year they were at 787 when the league average was 719. Clearly a monster step backwards. K rate. Yankees don't seem to care about K rate. Well, you're striking out 1 out of every 4 at-bats. What that means is you're striking out 25% of the time. The league average is below the Yankee average of 22.6. And last year, the league average was 22.2. So the league average has gone up very little. And the Yankees have gone up from 23% in 25 to 25% in 26. Interestingly enough, the Yankees walk rate went from 10.3 in 25 to 12.2 this year. So they're getting more walks. So they're striking out more, getting more walks, but their on-base percentage is way down. Their hard hit rate was 46% last year, and it's 44.5% this year. That makes sense. It's down, but they're 4th in the league in hard hit rate. So it's the fact that they're not making contact. But then again, if you look at hard hit rate, it's really just Judge and Rice who are hitting the ball hard. Then you talk about what are their splits against left-handed pitchers and right-handed pitchers. Well, they are really, 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 really awful against left-handed pitchers. Okay? They are hitting 160 with a 244 on base, 291 slug, and a 535 OPS against left-handed pitching, which makes them last in average, last in on base percentage, 25th in slugging, 28th in OPS. Whereas last year they were 17th in batting average at 236, which is not good. It was below the league average of 248. They were at 340 as an on base percentage. They're over almost 100 points. I'm sorry, almost 100 points lower this year. And they were the league out, the number one team in baseball this year is at 340. So that's very interesting as well. Slugging percentage, they were at 417 last year. They were below league average, which was 454. And their OPS is significantly less than last year's, which was 783 against lefties. And they're at 535 this year. So they're not doing very well at all. What else are they having problems with? Well, their leadoff hitters, which is predominantly Mr. Grisham, is hitting 150. They're hitting 152 with a 341 on base, which is not awful. But if you're hitting 152 with a 341 on base, get your batting average up to 220, 230, and your on base percentage should go up to 350, 360. I mean, you're talking about a 70-point batting average jump, and we're only asking for a 30 to 40% jump in on base percentage. Slugging is at 273, which is an OPS of 614 out of the leadoff slot. Another reason Judge can't bat second, there's nobody on base in front of him. The number two hitter, which has predominantly been Judge, he's not off to the best batting average, start at 233, but he has, and his on base is only 309, but his slugging is 521 and his OPS is 829. So that's a good thing. And the number four hitter, obviously, has been Rice predominantly, 308 average, 451 on base, 644 slug, and a 1097 OPS. Judge and Rice are the only two guys that are hitting. Stanton's not hitting. Grisham's not hitting. Wells isn't hitting. Jazz isn't hitting. Caballero's clutch, but not hitting. McMahon's not hitting. And Bellinger has been and we'll get to him in a couple of minutes. The Jazz has been the number six hitter overwhelmingly, and the number six hitter's hitting 178. The number seven hitter, 185. The number eight hitter, 188. The number nine hitter, 167. That's 5 slots in the batting order at least that are hitting below 188. The team is not hitting. They're just not hitting. What else is a problem against left-handed hitting? Well, guess who's not hitting against lefties, which is a shocker. Giancarlo Stanton is 0 for 14 with 6 strikeouts and 4 walks this season against left-handed pitching. He's a left-handed pitching killer. That's got to change. I'm sure it will. It's Giancarlo Stanton. His last year, he had 277 with a 397 on base and a 951 OPS against lefties, whereas his career is a 275 batting average with a 372 on base and a 944 slug. So if he can get to the back of his baseball card, that will help tremendously with regard to left-handed hitting. Jazz can't hit left-handed hitting, never really has, but he's a career 225 hitter with left-handed pitching and an OPS of 654. Well, this year he's 1 for 15 with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. He's batting .067. Will Jazz go through the entire season batting .067? I don't know. What's interesting is Michael Kay quoted Adam Schneider without giving him the attribution when he said, did Jazz put too much pressure on himself by saying he would go 50-50? Adam has been saying that for a couple of weeks now, saying how dumb it was for Jazz to do that. Even if he was thinking it, he should never have said it. Jazz has been awful against lefties. Mr. Grisham, also awful against lefties. Of course, he's been awful against both. In 2026, he is 1 for 12 with 3 walks for an .083 batting average against left-handed pitching. What's interesting is last year was a career year for him. And even last year, he only batted 182 against lefties. But he did have a slug of only 348. He's a platoon player at best. Has been his entire career, even though his career average is 225 against lefties with a 712 OPS. Last year, when he hit 35 home runs, he still had an OPS of 651 against left-handed pitching. He cannot hit lefties. And since Randall Grichuk has stunk wind, there's no reason to play him. Dominguez is racking it up in minor leagues, batting both lefty and righty now, after they gave him the first few games where he was batting left-handed only and not facing left-handed pitching. He is now hitting in the minors, both left-handed and right-handed. I think it's time to get Mr. Dominguez back up here. I'm sorry, but that's the answer. Unless they want to figure out a way to get a better right-handed player out there in a platoon than Randall Grichuk, or his John, what's his name? Adam likes to call him Randall Upchuck. Mark Canha got cut today by, I forgot by who, I think it was the Tigers in their minor league camp. He is a better left-handed pitcher killer than Randall Grichuk is. Maybe he's an option. The Yankees can get rid of Grichuk and bring in Canha. Canha can play all three outfield positions, not center as well, probably as Grichuk. He can also play a little bit of first base. Another thing about first base is Boone said yesterday he's not ready to have Rice catch. He's not strengthened up to catch a full 9 innings. Well, that's the Yankees' fault. The Yankees' fault is not having a player ready to play a position that we were told last season he did an outstanding job calling games, an outstanding job framing the ball, and a decent job throwing the ball. So that's on the Yankees. Who else has not been hitting left-handed pitching? Well, we've got our friend Bellinger. In 226, he's 3 for 17, all singles. His career average against lefties is 266. That's his career average with an OPS of 800. Last year was an aberration, even during his MVP seasons against left-handed pitching. Bellinger was not as good as he was last year, where he hit 353 with an OPS of 1.016. Can't expect that, but you can't expect him to get to the back of his baseball card, and you got to give Bellinger a longer leash, just like you have to give Stanton a longer leash to get to their historical averages. Whereas Grisham doesn't deserve a long reach, and Jazz, the way he's playing, doesn't deserve a long reach either. So getting Jazz up to his career average, Bellinger up to his career average, and Stanton up to their career performance against left-handed pitching would make a huge difference. Bellinger and Stanton have really good numbers against lefties for their career. But is that all that is needed? I don't think so. Regardless of the price of his contract, Grisham is a problem against left-handed pitching. If Jazz is going to continue to be a problem, the Yanks need to solve that problem. Is Lombard Jr. ready? I don't think so. He's a double A. Yes, he's hitting 400. He's got to get up to triple A and prove that he can do it there. Yankees are not good at making their prospects better in the majors, which is, again, why I have a different view of Ben Rice than Adam does. But that is what needed. The other things is nothing really can be done with Wells. Nothing can be done with McMahon. They are what they are. McMahon has actually been better against lefties than righties, but when you're hitting 167 against lefties, and that is better than your right-handed against right-handed pitching, it's really not saying anything. It's the same as Grisham. He is a 227 career hitter against lefties, but that's not working so well. He's hitting 111 versus righties this season as opposed to 241 for his career. I don't think there's anything you can do about McMahon. There's nothing other than platoon him with Rosario, 100% platoon, even when free pitches, because Rosario has been better at third base than people probably thought. Jazz either needs to get better or the Yankees need to figure out a way to platoon him, and there's nobody in the organization for that. And Wells, he's a left-handed hitting catcher who's excellent defensively, was supposed to be a big bat. He's had some really good at-bats in the last couple of games, but he's still not getting the results. The question is, J.C. Escara is the backup. He's also left-handed. The Yankees would be, as Kramer likes to say, better balanced if they would have a right-handed backup catcher, meaning hitting, not throwing, obviously. So when we look at the overall Yankees versus lefties type situation, Yankees versus lefties versus righties, so far in 2026, Yankees have scored 86 runs. That's an average of 4.53 runs a game, down from over 5.2 runs a game last year. When lefties start, the Yankees have scored 50 runs. When the righties start, they scored 74. That's 40% of their runs are against lefty starters. In 2025, only 29% of their runs were against lefty starters. So they're having issues with lefty starters, but a percentage of their runs is actually higher this year. They've faced 6 lefty starters, one of which was an opener the other day by the Angels. So we're going to leave that guy out of it. He only went 2 innings. So the other 5 starters went 27 innings against the Yankees, 27 2/3, which is over 5 innings a guy. And they have an ERA of 3.25. Or sorry, an overall runs allowed of 10, which is 3.25 runs per 9. 2 guys went 7 innings, but the starters are only averaging about 5 innings, which means the Yankees are getting into bullpens. And they're not hitting the bullpen guys, lefties or righties either. They've had 13 righty starters against them. One of them was Fairbanks, who was an opener. That means there was 12 of those. They have pitched 61 in the third innings, and the Yanks have scored 34 runs, which is 5 runs a game, which is a run and 3/4 more against right-handed starting. But the average pitcher still only throwing 5 innings when he's a right-hander as well. So you put all that together, the Yankees are not hitting. Bottom line. Bellinger and Stanton are way, way, way below their career average, and their statistics are an anomaly compared to the career average. Whereas Chisholm's average is lower than his career average, but it's not an anomaly. And Jazz is lower than his career average, and it's not an anomaly either. But, it's small sample size for Jazz against lefties. But we'll see what happens. The bullpen issues will continue, and somebody's got to sit down, the Yankees. They have so many analytics guys. Sit down with these guys and tell them, hey, this is the right time to challenge when the pitch is close. If it is not in the window of right time to challenge, unless it is way off the plate, like 2 inches or more, don't challenge. I don't care that you got screwed on a call. Don't challenge in these circumstances, like the first pitch of the third inning in a game that you're leading 2-1 or losing 2-1. Don't do it. And Jazz, you're banned. No challenges for you. The Soup Nazi says, no challenges for you. So coming up this weekend, you got the Royals coming in. They've got 2 lefties pitching. Saturday and Sunday, they got Noah Cameron and Cole Reagans. And tonight they get Michael Wacha, who's been pretty good against the Yankees, even though I can't figure out how he's not somebody that the whole league beats up with his curveball after curveball. He's a poor man's Bert Blyleven. And in the bullpen, the Royals have a closer who's a righty, and Lucas Erceg, former A. And they have 2 other lefties, which are Daniel Lynch, who has not been that good, and Matt Strahm, who has been very bad, with 2 righties, Nick Mears and John Schreiber. So the Yankees have a chance to really get eaten up alive if they can't do something against Noah Cameron and Cole Reagans. But when you look at the Royals lineup, really, they only have a couple of guys that are hitting. Miguel Garcia has an OPS plus of 115. He's been playing almost every game. Kyle Isbell, who's a rookie and bats left-handed, or he's not a rookie anymore. He bats left-handed. So he'll be able to spat in the first 2 games for sure against Schlittler and Warren. We'll see if he plays against Weathers. He's got an OPS plus of 136. Jack Cagliano is their right fielder, another young guy. He's batting an OPS plus of 113. And then there's Bobby Witt Jr., who's off to a slow start, but is starting to heat up a little bit in the last few games. He is looking for his first homer still this season. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Carter Jensen is the only guy that is above that as well. So the Yankees are facing a really bad lineup in Kansas City offensively so far this season. In their 19 games, they've scored 65 runs. Like I said, in the Yankees' 19 games, they've scored 86 runs. So they're not really scoring any runs. They're scoring less than 4 runs a game. So there's a chance here maybe the Yankee pitching and bullpen can get themselves right. But until we see something different, Yanks struggles against left-handers. Their struggles in the bullpen are warts that are not going to disappear. The bullpen warts look like they're not going to disappear because guys like Duvall and Cruz can't throw strikes. Hill is Hill. Yarbrough really is throwing meatballs up there. I was calling for him to come into the game on Wednesday, and good thing they didn't do that. So we'll go from there. See you guys later for a post-game show. This is Michael Miller signing off for Yankees Coast to Coast, and Adam, good luck in prison.